Welcome to the channel. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Today we're back with another model from Wicked Watch. The last time I looked at one of the watches, it was the Swiss made Basilia. This time we will be looking at one of the non-Swiss made watches, the Pearl Diver. So before I go on, let me explain. While Wicked Watch are a Swiss brand within Switzerland, they also offer non-Swiss made watches which still use a few components and manufacturing from within Switzerland, but not enough to meet the threshold to be called Swiss made. I also pointed out in the last video that the actual Swiss made watches are certified a level above Swiss made with a more stringent criteria, which is at around 70%, and Wicked Watch's actual Swiss made stuff comes in at just over 80%, which is incredible if you actually think about it. It means a definite increase in raw materials and production to just have those components made within Switzerland. So what that means is their non-Swiss made watches can get to us without that Swiss premium. But does it mean we suffer with cheaper quality or materials? No, it does not. The watch I'm looking at today will show you just that. It has even more use of high-end materials and techniques typically reserved for some of the more prestigious brands. This is called the Pearl Diver V1. Now this particular one in hand is a prototype. They've had to halt production due to supply chain issues, so this was a trial run, a one-off one. But they do have the exact same case and build available in a steel version with a bracelet and a Timascus version without the bracelet. So things like the dial and the hands and dimensions and the majority of the specifications are the same across all. The main difference is just the case and the material. So the one in hand uses a Timascus case, which is a blend of different grades of titanium and then heated to a temperature which produces this fantastic array of iridescent colors. Now the Timascus version uses a case, a bezel insert and crown created from 304L and 316L combined steel to give you the iconic Timascus style layering. But the following specs are the same across all the models that I've mentioned. You've got a sapphire crystal with 9 layers of AR coating, 200 meters of water resistance with a screw down crown and a screw down case back. They use material matched bezel inserts. So for this one, you've got a Timascus bezel insert. For the Timascus, you've got the same. And for the steel one, you've got a brushed steel bezel insert. The bezel is 120 click unidirectional diving bezel, and the bracelet on the steel one uses female end links, screw-in links, and a milled fold-over 5 micro adjustable clasp. Whereas the one I have in hand uses a FKM rubber strap, and you also get the choice of an optional leather strap which I have in the packaging. And the movement which powers all three watches is a Miyota 9039, which is a dateless version of the 9015, and this movement has incredible reliability and accuracy. It beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It has around 42 hours of power reserve. It hacks and winds and has 24 joules. Now this movement allows the watches to be quite thin. For example, this dive watch comes in at just 10.7 millimeters with a 39 millimeter diameter at the case and the bezel, and just under 47 millimeters at the lug to lug with a 20 millimeter lug width, which are spot on dimensions and in line with the current dimensional trends we see on the watch market. Now this watch, not being Swiss made, gives us a lot more for our hard earned money. For example, they've absolutely splashed out on Lume. This is the highest grade Lume certified from the Swiss Super Luminova factory. Now remember how I told you Wicked Watch were crazy about Lume? Check this out. You've got lumed bezel markers, a lumed minute track, lumed hands, a lumed logo, and a very special lume application on the hour markers called LumeCast, which is super expensive, and it's basically ceramic casted blocks of concentrated lume, and it is only available from Swiss Super Luminova themselves. And on top of that, they've also got a lumed crown signature, as well as a lumed buckle on the leather strap, but not on the rubber strap. So this definitely reminds me of the exhibit meme. So there's no skimping on specs here. If anything, you get a lot more because the price allows so. So I don't actually have the price of this Timascus, but the price for the normal steel one on bracelet is 299 Swiss francs, which is about £260 or $330. And for the Timascus, which uses a fully loomed dial, it's 699 Swiss francs, which is around £600 or $770, which is really insane value. Now, just on the loom alone, Wicked Watch have a page dedicated to how good the Lume is. It's official Super Luminova, which is also certified. As a comparison, per kg, Swiss Super Luminova is $19,000 compared to Chinese knockoff Super Luminova, which is just $53 per kilograms, which I might add is what the majority of brands use. So I did say this brand was a little different. They have an incredible capacity to give us high-end materials and actual value for money, which a lot of brands don't provide, no matter how high-end they are. So anyway, let's move on. So the dial used in this model and the normal steel one is a blue Fume sunburst dial. The sunburst is quite subtle and gives off an even sheen across the surface. You have the printed logo just below the 12, and as you saw, all the printing on the dial is actual Lume. Now, while it's a basic dial, I think it works really well against the patterns visible on the case and the use of Lumecast indices, which are quite difficult to produce and also difficult to place onto the dial. It does make up for any simplicity. The handset is polished and it's also rhodium plated to give you that brighter appearance. Now, I really like the shape. It's a great size and it's also a great taper, typical dive watch style hands, and the red on the second hand to give it a spot of color. Overall, it is extremely legible and you've got great clarity from the AR coating on the crystal. Now, the bezel rotation is very smooth. You get good balance of it being tactile, but with a decent glide and slightly less resistance. You've got really nice clicks, and of course you've got that Timascus insert with that awesome applied lume. So the construction is solid Timascus of the bezel, and the actual grip itself is a bit of a cross between, let's call it coin edge and some sort of scalloping. It's quite different, but it does work really well. And the crown is a healthy 7mm with superb threading. It's very smooth, and again, it's made with the same material as the case. And you also got the lume application on the crown, and the grip design combined with the size makes it really functional to use. Now, moving on to the case, you'll notice that this Timascus combination gives the case a very high sheen finish. It's different to usual titanium, and it feels quite nice. It's very smooth in hand. The closest thing I can kind of describe it or compare it against, it feels like it's lacquered like a hard shell enamel lacquer. You can see the bevels along the lug tips, along the side of the case profile. Also, the underside of the case is also beveled, and it's a very smooth feel in hand. There's zero sharpness, and you've got some really nice rounded shapes. You've also got drilled lugs, which is good. And on the case back, you will find a steel case back with a charming engraving of an oyster showing its pearl, as well as the specifications around the outer edge. Now, the strap used is FKM rubber with quick release spring bars. It's a nice enough sporty pattern, but what I'm more interested in is that CNC milled buckle, again made from Timascus. The CNC milling allows you to see all the different facets that are on the buckle, really high grade, and also that Timascus pattern looks crazy. It looks like titanium tiger stripes with that iridescent glow. Now, I do prefer the leather strap with this watch, but they have also supplied us with a leather strap which has blue contrast stitching, quick release bars as well. But the buckle on this one is also Timascus, but it does have that loomed Wicked Watch logo. You could of course transfer the buckles depending on what strap you wear, but I also like the style of this one over the one on the leather strap. It's slightly wider, but it still is made of the same material and it's also milled. So on wrist, you just know the dimensions are going to work. The case is perfectly sized. You have a bit of a downturn on the lugs, so it sits and holds a wrist. The strap is super comfy and super light, which is around 70ish grams, and it fits so well. I've got a 6.5-inch wrist, and you can see it fits dead center, and I really like the proportions of this watch. Now, the color, I mean, it's a great thing being so exotic in terms of the material, but you have to like the color. This iridescent purple may not be for everyone. I don't think it's a daily watch, and it's not a novelty item either, but it's something of an occasional watch. I think the Timascus is more of a daily wearer with that fully loomed dial. Now, this one is a bit more of an acquired taste. It's incredible though, so good to see in person and to have a chance to look at it. So I do have one more watch from them, by far the most varied and the most materials on offer, insane specs. So make sure you stay tuned for when I do review that. So that's it for me today. I would love to hear your thoughts below. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next video.